this house is home. It feels like a hug when you come in. My mom planted these daffodils.
This is a Pontiac T37 350, and I have no idea what that means, but I'm Robert, and this is Adventures into History. Today I'm in Talbot County, Georgia, and we are back in Oak Mountain, or on Oak Mountain. This is the old Oak Mountain Resort. Now, we've been here before. We've visited the old abandoned swimming pool. We've visited the old Oak Mountain Mud Spring and some other springs here. We've done a lot up here in Oak Mountain is what I'm trying to say. This used to be a big spring resort. A lot of people came to a hotel that used to stand right over there, but unfortunately the hotel has been gone for many years. But this is, as far as I know, the last structure that would be original to that time period left. This is actually the old overseer's house who would have kept watch over the spring resort. We're not sure if when the first hotel burned, if this house was taken to in the fire or it was rebuilt. So we're not exactly sure of the age of it, but we'll do some investigating and try to figure that out. But I'm here with Molly, who actually grew up in this house. So this house has so much history from that to being your family home. And we're going to try to talk about it all today. And also just to note that this house is actually currently for sale too, which we'll also discuss. But what can you tell me about it?
Well, first, I want to tell you that this is absolutely my favorite spot in the entire world. I grew up out here. We moved in 1986. I was just barely 5, I think, when we moved in. And I had no idea that other people lived with houses right next to them. We had lived on Fort Benning, but I don't really remember that as much as just living here. So this home has been my entire life for a long time. And it's where I've raised my daughter, who is a wild axolotl. You may see her later. We've built so many memories here. Everything about this house is core memory. So come on in. This is our grand hallway. I've always loved the tall ceilings, and Christmas always exploded in here first. My mom took great delight in wrapping the stairwell in the greenery and ornaments that she would make herself. My brother's room is just to the right. These rooms are, I didn't know people didn't have rooms these big. When I was old enough to do my first sleepover, the first thing I said to my friend was, "Your room is so small." And she thought that I was crazy. My mom hand stripped all of these fireplaces that had been painted brown, just like a fudge colored brown, which still exists in parts of the house, but this is all original woodwork and masonry.
They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And we never did figure out whose initials these are.
Well, that's cool.
At one point, the floors were painted sky blue, which we began to finish, but unfortunately, my mom got sick, and we were not able to finish that project. But they're gorgeous, and they're original to the house.
And it's still got the beaded board on the walls and the ceiling.
Yep. So the people that we bought the home from in 1986 are the ones who put in the attic space. But my dad did finish it. Well, it was a project that took years. So upstairs is pretty nice. It's got I'd say like a great room with a built-in bookcase and desk, and there's storage behind the wall in the attic. There's a half bathroom up there. It's always a good place to escape when you're like, okay. So there was me, my mom, and dad. I have a sister and 2 other brothers. So there were 6 people, and it was loud. We always had dogs. So if you needed some silence, upstairs we went. My dad built this desk for my mom. She didn't find anything she liked in the catalog, so down to the barn he went and bought the maple and whatever else is there and made that for her. This is my parents' bedroom, the warmest room in the house. It's got beautiful southern and eastern light. And I think my mom always regretted making it a bedroom and not a sunroom.
Oh, really?
It also has the amazing fireplace. There's one in every bedroom. Just gorgeous.
I had forgotten about these because I've been in this house before, and when we walked in today and I saw the first one, I remembered how amazing these mantels were. Mm-hmm. And I guess there was no closet in this room originally.
That's right, no closet. So my dad and a friend, built this. My parents were not very fancy people, and so both of them, mom and dad, their clothes fit in there and then in 2 dressers. The room's huge, so it never felt crowded. Amazing. I wish my house now felt like that.
It's interesting too when you talk about a house, because it's always said that the people make the house the home, that sort of thing. But all the different lives that a house has lived, from, way back when being the overseer's house to being your family home, and the changes that y'all did. But even before that, all the different changes that have probably happened here over the years, from the stairs to, what was somebody doing, way back when. And I just noticed the windows.
The windows are original as well. The people who owned the home before us took out the weight system that, would lift the windows easily. They, I think, were planning to do more with the house, and then their situation changed, and so they weren't necessarily able to go about it the way that they had wanted to. Right. Yeah. So sad, very sad for them, but very lucky for us that I got to grow up here. This is actually our tornado closet. We would get in there anytime there was a tornado warning or a tornado watch. And without fail, it always happened on a day when we were home alone and my mom was at work and my dad was at work. So we'd have to empty the closet and just sit in there until we guessed it was over. I mean, it was the 90s and, we didn't have cable out here. Right. Now, this room, this is my favorite. This is my bedroom. This is where I grew up. My sister and I shared this room. I have always loved these floors. It's got great acoustics, and I like to sing. So, it's hard to say anything because this room just means so much to me.
A lot of memories, I'm sure.
Yeah. But again, we've got, here you can see the original paint.
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine covering up all that beautiful wood?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
And also props to, you said it was your mom who stripped them?
Oh, yeah.
Props to her, because I've stripped an old door that was painted probably, around the same time, and with I'd imagine as many coats of paint as that has on it probably.
So many coats.
And it is not, it is not easy.
No,
It takes a while.
It was a lot of scraping. And the windows in every room open, and the doors as well. And you'll notice in all of the rooms, and we don't know why they did this, but it charmed my mom so much. You can see in the ceiling is the old-fashioned vents that homes used to have to let the heat escape. But it charmed my mom that whoever laid down, the ceiling just covered up like a bird's nest. I'll show you that in the living room. And sure, we could have taken it down, but my mom was like, why would you do that?
Right.
But would not hear of fixing it. And that's kind of who she was. She grew up in Philadelphia and was all about charming and historic because that's what she had been raised around. So, yeah.
What brought your family down here?
The Army, yeah. So my dad commissioned and bebopped around a little bit while my mom stayed with my older 2 siblings in Philadelphia. And then he got command of the horse cav in Fort Hood, Texas, which is where I was born. And then when she was expecting my little brother, we moved to Fort Benning. Dad got out of the Army and they found this house, and that was it. That was all she wrote. You know, you just walked in and you're immediately taken by the warmth of this house. I still am. Like, this house is home. It feels like a hug when you come in. Yeah.
And I wanted to point out too that right there was a wood burning stove that was installed at some time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what was being done in this room. Maybe just heat. Maybe they were using it as a kitchen, because okay, so this house has been added on to.
Yes.
And it was originally, I guess I have to look at it and kind of try to figure it out. I think it was originally a 4-room house.
You know, my brain does not work that way. So Miss Juanita, whose family lived here, she has explained the old layout to me so many times. I always think I've got it. I'm like, yes, this is the time that it's going to make sense in my brain, but no. The stories that have really stuck with me is like when she would talk to us about how FDR used to come during, you know, his presidency, and he'd soak his legs in the artesian well across the street. It used to be more of a spring until I think they dammed something to make that pond that's there. But then he would come up, Secret Service or whatever they had back then would help him up onto the front porch, and they would drink lemonade, and he would ask the family, like, what's it like for you? Like, what's going on? What do you think we should be doing? And just really listen to the people in this area. So we're not far, of course, from the little White House. So he would travel around and just talk to real people who were experiencing the Depression and who were experiencing life at that time.
That's really amazing. It is, to think of what all places that have never made the history books have seen, and how much important history is in a place like this that, you know, would otherwise never make the history books, you know?
I know. That, and it's just part of what makes this house so special.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, all right, I would be remiss if I said that my favorite room was my bedroom, because obviously this dining room and living room are right there. It's huge. And it was always filled, the walls were filled with pictures of the family, pictures of friends. And my dad had a 10th degree black belt. And so we had a dojo that was located in the barn for quite some time. There was a dojo in Waverly Hall. And then eventually a dojo in Columbus. And we were always getting, you know, new students, especially soldiers, because Fort Benning is so close. And I barely remember a weekend where there wasn't some Army guy sleeping on our couch because my parents had decided to adopt him. So our house was never empty. If there was the 6 of us, and then there was probably a 7th or an 8th, and there was a couch and a love seat, and it was always just filled with people, with laughter. You know, the ceilings are about 12 feet tall, so I had some real culture shock when I went to college and my roommates and I decided to get a tree, but our house had like 8-foot ceilings, and my roommates wanted this tree. It was like this, and I said, but this is a Charlie Brown tree. And they didn't understand what I meant until I said, you got to come home with me. And so we have so many hilarious pictures of putting the tree up in this corner. And you can see where we've had to tie the tree off. So there's like one there, there's one here, and we have a picture of my dad like falling into the tree, but like this whole space, you know, it would take 2 or 3 of us, especially after my dad's health worsened, it would take 2 or 3 of us to wrestle a tree in here. But oh my gosh, if you've never had an old farmhouse Christmas, have you even had Christmas?
Right.
And, I don't know if my mom gave up. Like maybe the black paint was too much for her. But I have this flashbulb memory in my head of her just sitting cross-legged in front of this fireplace, scraping and scraping, with Wings on the stereo, or the Beatles on the stereo, or I don't even know who I'm holding here. Oh, this looks like Cheech and Chong. That would be my father's. My dad had this put in. Originally, this part right here it existed, and there was a black stove in there. And then one of us fell, and I don't know if we hit our head or something, and my mom was like, "That's it. Make this bigger, make it more obvious." And then when they got older, they put in gas flames so that we could actually use the fireplace.
And again, beautiful mantle. And this is also, I got to say, where the house gets just a little bit confusing. Maybe not for you. You grew up here, but for people who would have not grown up here and maybe seen it for the first time, even for me, when I look over at this room, I'm looking at this room, I see beaded board, I turn just a little bit and I see outside of the house over here, which I gotta say too is actually really cool, because it's kind of like, I like the fact that the outside of the house is actually encapsulated here.
Yes.
Because I don't know, there's just something neat to me about that.
And then you have this beadboard that's upright.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I don't know what that's about, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's weird. After my mom was diagnosed with MS, my dad converted the back porch into a laundry room for her so that she would not have to do the stairs. And so we've got this external wall is original to the house, and you can see that this is all external wall as well. And my dad built all of these cabinets and shelving units for her. But down where that fan is hanging was our swinging porch. And I grew up in a family of storytellers. My dad had a story about so many different things, and my mom is one of the funniest people I have ever met. So some of my favorite memories happen on this porch, which was just a regular screened-in porch. And if the lights went out because of a thunderstorm or something, we would all just come out here and enjoy the storm in safety, while my parents would either read to us or just, talk story about what it was like when we were born, or what it was like when they were younger, or how they met, which was on Boathouse Row in Philadelphia. They were at a frat party. Oh my God. I don't, after that I was like, no more details.
Both of us grew up in old houses,
Yeah.
and did a lot of living in old farmhouses. And to think about that not everybody has the experience, because I was thinking about your story of coming out onto the screened porch during a thunderstorm, and immediately I had a memory of being in my grandmother's old house during a thunderstorm, and sitting on the porch and hearing the frogs and listening to the rain pound the metal roof. And I don't think it's ever really occurred to me until this moment that not everybody actually has that.
No.
And so I think that that's something very special.
Yeah. Boy, the stories I could tell you about this house. I hope you'll let me tell you the story of the pear tree.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that one is that's solid gold. But I would want to take you outside so you could see it.
Absolutely.
And experience it. But the pink, unfortunately, was on purpose. My mom's favorite color was pink. And she took full advantage of the fact that my dad was like, I'm going to enclose this space so that you can still do what you want. Because my mom was very independent. She was like, I am still going to do the laundry in this house. Do not, don't think for a second that just because I might get more tired going upstairs that I am not doing what I need to do. So when it came time to paint all the drywall, my dad was like, what color? And my mom went, pink. And Dad said, okay, what kind of pink? And she was like, well, let's go. And when I saw it, I went, Mama, please, no, this is like, no. But she loved it. And even when she stopped being able to do the laundry and like I would do it or my dad would, we didn't change it. Yeah. I feel like this house, so many parts of it are just a testimony to how much my parents loved each other, how much they loved their kids. When my mom became wheelchair bound, my dad was able to still do all the things for her, but as he got older and less able, he had the bathroom renovated with the help of some of my good friends who know people in construction. So it became a roll-in shower instead of what it had been before with, double shower heads, because why not be a little fancy at this point? My parents were retired and had earned it. And I just, oh gosh, I love this house so much. My dad did not put anything in except this. He built this himself, yep, down at the barn. And pretty much filled it up. We had food for months. Never met a man who liked to go to the grocery store as much as he did, but I really feel like he picked up on, he was a child of Depression children, and if he could buy it, save it, he would. But God, so many happy memories in here. My dad and I we'd make bread. My mom was the cook until it got to the point where she couldn't stand to do that kind of thing. But Dad and I would do a lot of baking. He loved to make these cinnamon rolls. His mother came to stay with us for a couple of weeks one summer, very picky about a lot of things, but she loved his cinnamon rolls. So, and we used to have, actually the bench seat is on the front porch. The bench seat went here. This is relatively new in the last 10 years of my dad, but we had a nice big kitchen table, the bench, there was a hutch with all of their plates and whatnot, and it's such a great kitchen. Lots of counter space. This is actually the original nest that tickled my mom. Yeah. So just could not believe it. My mom said, obviously a man laid that tongue and groove down.
You've got the little closet here in this room.
Ductwork, the electric box.
And it's just a little beaded board room.
Yep, it's where we stored all of our records, all of our albums.
Let's take a look at all the places we've missed. There's some neat things in here. This is the tornado closet.
Also called the winter coat closet.
And you've got, there's that outside wall, and some original beaded board that was kind of hidden when this staircase was added. So this would have been probably a closet here, because that beaded board has been in its, or is still in its original place. Closet or part of a room. That beaded board is still in its original place, but that's of course because that's part of the hallway, and that looks like it is too.
We always wanted Dad to turn this into our own personal cupboard under the stairs.
Yeah, it's neat. So this would not have been original to the house because it was single story. We do have another closet here, and this one goes this was beaded board up, but the ceilings were high, so this would be ceiling height here. So this beaded board looks original.
I think the ceiling might be there because this is where the air register is.
Yeah, that's ceiling right there.
Yeah.
So that's ceiling, and you can see it was still that beaded board, just it's been cut out. There's the chimney. We can see it very clearly. Okay, there's the closet to nowhere.
Well, I mean, it goes down to the bottom.
Well, yeah, I was thinking it's like a...
Take an irritated teenage boy and ask him to put something in there, and you'll find the bottom of that real quick.
Well, we're going to go into the attic now, and this is a pretty cool space. This is a good example of how much space is in the roof of one of these houses. This would have been just unused space.
So when we were growing up, this had more exposed beams, and we weren't really supposed to come up here because it wasn't temperature controlled, but we would because, like I said, there was no way to get away from the rest of our family. But you can actually still go behind the wall and see the joists and everything.
So this was bathroom?
So right in front of you is laundry, what was the laundry room. And you can see the connectors there. But this is where we started stacking all of our holiday stuff. Yeah. And my mom was an amazing seamstress. She used to make a lot of our clothes, all of our costumes, and they'd get hung up in this area. Now down this way, there used to be a clawfoot tub, which I wanted to holler when my dad gave it to somebody, but I guess they were in need. So it's like a half bathroom, I guess.
Kind of interesting because when we first walked up here, you wouldn't expect the space to be so big.
No, it really covers, like I think we're over the kitchen now.
Yeah, this is a whole nother apartment or house up here.
And this is like a nice little cozy spot. It's at one point, I think after, there are so many hurricanes when you're in a house 40 years, there was some damage that, of course, the insurance company took care of. And then I think we used that opportunity to put in vents in up here so that it's still not like cool the way the rest of the house is cool, but it's definitely livable. Right. Yep.
And in the interest of this property is for sale, as we mentioned. How big is this property?
So we have 6 acres. So when they bought the house in 1986, it was like 4 1/4 acres. And then sometime when I was maybe right after college, my dad and brother bought there are like 2 acres that were behind our property line.
So back that way? Into
Yeah,
the woods?
straight back that way. Okay. And to the side this way.
Gotcha.
So they bought that, and so no one could buy it and then ask for an easement.
Right, yeah, no doubt.
So my dad loved his privacy and loved having all of the land he could have. We always were adopting dogs or rescuing them. There was a point in my life when we had 10 dogs because people knew that my parents would keep them. So they would come out this way, drop dogs like on our property, throw them up onto the porch, whatever. And I had that special gift as a child of always finding the puppies or the kittens or the whatever needed taking care of. I was going to find it. Well, my pear tree story actually starts here with what is left of a crabapple tree. And the crabapple tree lived out its life as they do, but we had a dog named Bonnie. And we rescued Bonnie. My sister worked at a kids camp over the summer, And they almost didn't take the kids to the vet's office to see how things were because there's always a kid that gets upset. Well, it was my 20-year-old sister who got upset and dragged my parents there and said, look at this dog. Her owner was too old to handle her. She had special needs. The dog had epilepsy. The dog was huge. She was like half collie, half, she was as wide as a table. She's a big girl. And Bonnie loved the crab apples. Well, the crabapple tree stopped producing, and so Bonnie had to find a new fix. Bonnie would get all of these in her cheeks, right? And then she would go up onto the porch and ask to be let in. And if you were lucky, you noticed the squirrel cheeks. Because if you weren't lucky and you let her in, well, she would go to the living room carpet and all of the crab apples would come out. So poor Bonnie, right, when the crabapple tree died, but that was fine because what she found was our pear tree. So the pear tree is out around the back porch. It's still producing fruit today. But that pear tree, I have no idea. It was here when we moved in. So, and it was bearing fruit at that time as well. So this tree is old, and my understanding is it is well past its fruit-bearing years, and yet it continues. And that is because this tree is a fighter. It has always been my special tree. I don't know why. I saw it, I loved it, it was mine, in that way that kids do. So this is where the pear tree was. And then I can't remember, I think it was Hurricane Andrew. It came and it ripped the center out of the pear tree, okay? And what we had left was this trunk and then another piece of trunk that connected to here. And the pear tree stood there and it kept producing fruit. It didn't skip a season, nothing. Until one fateful year, Bonnie found it. And I was watching as Bonnie got up onto her back legs and plucked a pear with her teeth, and down went the tree. First, I thought it was hilarious, but then I was also shocked and horrified because this is my tree. And my mom told my dad, she was like, John, we got to get rid of it. It's a goner. And I did not often put my foot down to my mother, but this time I did. And I said, Mommy, no, this is my pear tree and we are not doing anything to it, okay? Just leave it alone. And my dad was not about to argue with me. I did have some magic eye fluttering that I could do. And so we just left it, and anytime Dad would cut the grass with a push mower, we did not have a riding lawnmower for those 4 acres until I was much older. He would just dump the mulch on it, kick up dirt, and here you have this tree. It's seen better days. It's got a little hawthorn that's grown up in it and some ivy. But it was really crazy because this tree has always borne a load of fruit, like always. And I came out this summer one morning and I noticed that all of the low branches were completely bare. No pears, there were no leaves, nothing. And I thought, oh my God, is my tree dying? And I checked there, I didn't see any sign of blight. And then I went inside and worked for a little while, and something caught my eye while I was on the back porch. And I guess because we had always had so many dogs out here that the deer never came close to the house. But now the house had been dog-free for about 5 years at this point. And so the deer were just coming right up to it and eating everything that they could find. I forget the kind of pears they are. You can't just pluck it and eat it. They are way too hard. You need to cook them. They're for canning. You do it that way and they're so tasty. And they produce, of course, that beautiful white bloom. Yeah.
This is the tree that just won't give up.
It just won't. And you can, it's solid.
Yeah.
It is solid. And I am working very hard to get a cutting because it's, I can't take the tree with me. We've had the county extension out to the house and they have been so impressed. The county extension, let's see, this tree that's behind you, he dated that tree to have been here when Washington was around. There's something about the land here that if we look at, I don't know if you want to see it, but if we look at the other side of this tree, you'll see that it had a little battle with some lightning, and here she stands, just fine. Dated at being 200 to 300 years. Yeah. So this tree had an enormous branch that came out this way, and we had the obligatory tire swing. But it was a tractor tire. It was it was taller than me when my dad hung it. And it was so crazy. I was watching TV in bed with my mom one night. I don't know where my dad was, but all of a sudden there was a roll of thunder, the brightest, scariest crack of lightning I have ever seen, and then there was a noise that shook the house. And my mom was like, I don't think you should go out there and check on it. And I said, Mom, I got to. I have to go see. Like, what if it was the barn? Came out and the branch was just laying there and the tree was on fire. It was actually funny. We did not have cable. I think cable still doesn't come out this far. But I was in middle school when satellite became a thing that you could get in this neighborhood. And it was Prime Star. They came out and they were like, yeah, this is great. We can put a satellite out here for you. We are gonna have to you're gonna have to cut down that tree though. And my dad was like, get out of town, go. They're like, absolutely not. Like, are you crazy? And then they decided that, they could find a different place to put it.
Right.
But this thing was just massive, just massive. There was a huge peach tree. I've never seen a peach tree that big before. So he built that so that we could, we had rabbits at one time, and could dump the bunny poo that way. And it was a huge tree, also taken out by lightning. Yeah.
It's my understanding that the hotel was right about here where this barn is, and then it burned. And then Mr. Joe Ingram lived in this house, and he was the overseer for the Humes. Yeah, he was the overseer for the Humes family and Mr. Key, and he used this barn as
for processing.
Yeah, and for the peaches.
Yep. So the peaches would go into the big overhang that's now filled with tools, and the leftover wood from my dad was a builder, a carpenter, and that's where they would process the peaches and get them into the baskets to be sent out to be sold.
And that's another thing that's interesting as far as Talbot County history goes, because when we think of peaches in Georgia today, we think of middle Georgia near Macon. There's all those peach orchards here. And if you look around Talbot County, there's not any peach trees growing. But peaches out here used to be a really big industry. There's another peach packing place that's just outside of Talbotton that's still standing. And there's other areas that we've gone to that were nothing but peach fields, but peaches were a big industry here.
So growing up, my dad, we met the Ingrams during a family reunion that they were having. There are still several Ingrams who live in this neighborhood, and they walked up to see the old house, and that's how we learned, that at least part of the house was built in 1862, and then he and my dad got to be friends, and we always called him Farmer Joe. We got one of the best dogs who ever existed from Farmer Joe, and he and my dad grew to be friends, and Farmer Joe still had peaches, like acres of them. And my dad would hunt on his land because the deer were stealing all the peaches. So I know that even within the last 30 years, let's say, that they were still producing peaches. Yeah, I'm not sure how the house and the acres that we have left the Ingram's hands. And I believe that the people that we bought the house from, their last name was Rose. Unless I just entirely made that up, but I don't think I did. And so some of that stuff, you take these stories for granted growing up. it never occurred to me that my dad would die before I could write it all down, you know? And I regret that. So we do the best we can. I call my sister, I ask her the questions, then, you know, we reach out to others. But, you know, it's an amazing place to be, you know. Behind you is a fig tree that does not look so impressive now, but lightning. Now, of course, this is over the course of 40 years, right? So it's not like this house is cursed. But you can see this main trunk, right? So it used to be just huge, and it took up all the space from here to this ginkgo and got struck by lightning. Part of it died, but like this fig tree right here is this fig tree. Like, that is how big this thing was. The county extension gentleman who came out said he'd never seen anything like it, and put the age of the fig tree, and this is 20 years ago, at least 100. He just never seen anything so big, and it still produces fruit. So maybe you're right. Maybe there's something to the healing waters out here. I do think the water tastes better out here. I also think the air smells better out here.
Okay, so I got to ask about the car.
Okay, so I know this car does not look like much, but this car is like family history, like, yes, at its finest, as my daughter just said. You know, I don't remember when we got this car, but this is the car we ended up with. Like, I remember kindergarten drop-offs in this car. And we fit 6 kids, or 6 people into this car. And it never looked great, right? Like, the car never looked like a fancy car. And in fact, our family loved the movie Ghostbusters, and I don't know which one of us was the one who put it together, but we eventually started calling this car Ecto. And Ecto is still here today because I have a sentimental soul and could not do anything to get rid of it. But this car was so fast. And I understand from my brother and my father that there's something special about the engine in this car, but it would do 0 to 60 in a blink. And my dad, he had a lead foot. He really enjoyed that. But yeah, so we would just be tooling around, the 6 of us in this. Well, I mean, it had bench seats in the front and the back, and I think that's how we managed to get everybody in there. So many memories in this. Like, at one point, we were stopped at a red light, and some construction workers were looking over and kind of making fun of the car. And my mom, you know, had just a stunning sense of humor. So she just climbed into the middle and started making out with my dad. And that certainly stopped them from talking about the car. And then the light, you know, went green and she got back into her seat. Yeah, so love this car. Love this car so much. It hurt Dad's feelings that we were calling it Ecto, because he was like, it's about the engine, you know, this is a fine machine. And we were just, you know, we would quote Dan Aykroyd when he pulls Ecto into the firehouse for the first time. Well, it needs new shocks, new engine, new, you know, all of the things, you know, but I got it for a song. It was only however much it was. And Dad just, he did not appreciate that at all. But I think eventually he came around. Like, he began calling it Ecto because when 5 people that you live with insist that that is its name, you know.
But this is a neat car, and I can't help but take a look at it, and it smells like old car, which is great.
Oh, let me smell and see if it still smells the same, despite...
There's some age, but it smells like old car.
Oh my God, it smells exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
smell
you should
it, baby.
go smell it.
Smell it, baby.
It smells like all Audis to me.
An Audi?
It smells like an Audi to me.
I have never driven an Audi either, but I would, apparently Audi smells like old
a car that's
70s Pontiac.
A car that's been sitting in my driveway for...
There it is. There it is. And, you know, I'm sure lots of memories in it for you. I'm surprised that the floor pans all look in good shape. I mean, you know, for Yeah, I mean, it's solid.
I want to
'Cause-
say at one point on the passenger side that there were some holes.
Some ventilation.
Yes, ventilation. And my little brother loves to tell this story. That back passenger door maybe didn't always catch the way it should. And he said that he was in the back seat coming home from Manchester, and my dad took a turn, and like the door flew open, and Andrew was flying for a minute before Dad slammed on the brakes and Andrew got back in the car.
Does the car come with the house?
Absolutely. As do many, many other things.
All right, everybody, well, I hope you enjoyed seeing this amazing old Georgia farmhouse, and a big thank you to Molly for coming out here and giving me the tour. As we said in the beginning of the video, this house is currently for sale. I'll leave a link to the listing down in the comments. If you're watching this video in like 2 years, though, it's probably already sold. But it is $249,000 is the asking price right now. That's 6 acres in Talbot County, Georgia. This house is in a neighborhood now that kind of grew up around it after the land got sold off, but this house predates that neighborhood and the HOA and everything. And I will say that there are houses that are close, but you know, it's not one of these modern subdivisions where you're right on top of everybody.
And nothing will be built across from you, so this will
Yes.
always remain a beautiful park.
Yeah, and there's a spring right down there too. So how cool is that? But I want to thank you again for coming out here and giving me this tour and sharing all of your family history, because in the story of a house, you know, so many times we talk about, well, this house is built in, you know, 18 whatever by so and so, but the story doesn't stop there. It keeps going, and it's still in a case like this is standing. This story is going to continue of this house. So I think that your experiences here are just as important as, you know, the ancient history of it. So thanks for sharing them. I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. And we hope you guys at home enjoyed. I'll leave a link for the listing down in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Like, share, and subscribe.
That's right.
Bye.